Thank you. Thank you, Margot. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the presentation of Step Forward. My name is Maaike Buchner. This is Oliver Netinje. And in the next minutes, we will inform you about the current status of our project. Step Forward is about binding students and graduates to the regions by strengthening the network between students, teachers, entrepreneurs, and policymakers. Project partners in our project are Alitus College, the Niederrhein University of Applied Science, the Basel City Council, the University of Twente, the Ham University of Applied Science, and the East Netherlands Development Agency. The project runs for more than a year now. We have had a few meetings already, so, well, Oliver, can you tell us something about the main findings until this far?
Okay, let's give it a try. I don't know how this thing works. Anyway, I'll give it a try. Let's see.
Yes.
Oh, something happens.
There it is.
All right, okay. What are the main findings? Mike talked about STEP. It's studying for students, teachers, entrepreneurs, and policymakers. So what have we actually found out? Where should I go and where should I stay? Or should I stay where I am? So the student says. We have heard the whole story about students or talents deciding to stay wherever they are. And I heard Lagota saying, it doesn't really matter whether they go away. That's really good because they're going to come back. And then we have something to gain from these people. We are talking about technical people, but also people who study economics and management. Two different groups of students. Keep that in mind. Teachers, they say, oh, what does an entrepreneurship need? So we'll discover that we have to come up with a curriculum that's going to fit to the things which the entrepreneurs and also the students really need in a certain economical environment. And the entrepreneur says, yeah, but I need something from you. From who? From the teachers, from the institutes, or maybe from the government. So what are these kind of things? And the policymakers think of quality of life. How attractive is the region? How do I make it attractive? These are the questions. So we have found out, for example, that in Basel, the city and the region, canton of Basel, has decided to bring back its graduates from other areas within Switzerland. That's one of the things we have found out. In Aletus, we discovered that students actually leave the city or the region, go look for work somewhere else because it's more attractive. They can make more money out of it. And so these are all some elements. And in Germany, at least in the Nordrhein-Westfalen area, we discovered that actually the contact between the universities and the companies is very minimal. And so that's typically the things we have managed to find out in the process. And I take a little bit to some figures, which are a result of a research which was performed in 2006 to 2009. It was repeated last year with new figures, but they are not incorporated in here. This just tells us what's all this story about brain drain or brain gain. And we say brain retention is also there, or brain circulation. How does it work? How does it work, this piece of information? A, we are here, and I was born here, in this region. I went to school in this particular region. And I found my job in this same region. If you go a little bit further, you discover that the next column is about somebody who was born here, studied here, but went to work in another region. These are the typical findings. So what you see is actually, oh, we are keeping our own kids, at least 35% of our own homegrown talents, they stay behind. Those are typical findings that we have. And we could be talking also about brain circulation, people from other areas who come over to study in our institutions, in our region, and then from there, they go back. So they have actually gained from the things that we do. And that's typical about the findings. And we had to find out, are there any good practices that are there in place to make sure that our talents or graduates either stay in the region or we attract them to come back. So I just give you two typical practices which we have in place for you. And that's about the ambassadors in the Netherlands. And I'll skip the one in the middle, and I go further into the project in Switzerland, which is about Together. You want to say something about the ambassadors, please?
Yes, I would love to. The Food Valley Ambassador Project is one of the good practices we indicated in the east part of the Netherlands. And this project, the Food Valley Ambassador Program, was set up because of a lack of food technologists at the food companies in the region. In short, the project matches the best students from the Wageningen University with large companies and SMEs in the food industries. The students are offered a one-year internship, and after this internship, they graduated. In between, they are, well, you can say, raised as a Food Valley ambassador, and we try to strengthen their network between the companies, the students, the knowledge institutes. After graduation, they often stay in the region and work for the same company or for another company in the region. Another opportunity is that they go back home and work there for food companies, but they always will keep in touch with their network in the region, in East Netherlands.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we go back, take you back again to this diagram. Talk about the Swiss story in Basel. So the students, they were born in the canton of Basel, and they went to study in Geneva, and they stay there, and they find a nice job. And they stay behind, of course. What we see in Basel, they have a different way of financing their education. What they normally do is, where you are coming from, that particular region has to pay for your education wherever you go to study. That means, if these people never come back, you're just there to pay money to students to study somewhere, and you never get anything back in terms of, let's say, innovation or tax money that you receive. So the Basel canton said, no, okay, we're going to create, that's from the policymakers, so we're going to create an environment in which the students can come back. And we do this by having a lot of fairs in those areas where our students are based, so they can see how attractive, let's get back to the quality of life, how attractive is our region. The companies that are based here or want to be here, we make it attractive for them to have their offices or production facilities in this area. By doing so, we should be able to get our graduates back. And so that's what the policymakers, if you look at how we could combine these things, creating, of course, the curriculum. We may not be able to create it all, but if we can't, we can get them back. If we can't create it, that means we have to listen to our companies. Okay, what could we recommend? Currently, we're actually in the process of integrating the various recommendations. So what you see here are just part of the things which we could recommend. So which facilities should you have for your graduates? Housing possibilities, the job search. And we heard yesterday, I think that was the gentleman who was talking about his company, which he says, he's talking about global talents, and he also explained that language is very important. So that means if you have international talents coming to your area, don't just give them the possibility to study your language in school just like that. It also has to be intensive so that within a short period of time, they are able to do their work within the companies in the local language, like we heard from the gentleman of yesterday. Job search. Why not create job centers in which students get the possibility to be trained on how to write a CV, how to go for interviews? Help them to do that, because by doing so, they'll be prepared to get into this labor market. How do we match the entrepreneurs and the students? How do we do that? I think the story from Lagota was very interesting, because that's something also we see, that we create these innovation centers or innovation hubs, whereby graduates have got the possibility to go there and practice what they've learned, so that companies can benefit from the new knowledge, and they could become even more innovative. So in both ways, we both tend to gain. So that's typically looking at the policies we're still thinking of integrating in our final reporting time. To finalize, next week, Tuesday, we are having a dissemination of events or dissemination events in the Netherlands, in which we have all the stakeholders will be discussing all these issues, and in the end, we expect to be able to get a lot more input, which will be integrated as a final report and recommendations to the policymakers. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. So we already heard about the next event coming up, 4th of June, very tight schedules here. Whoever wants to jump on a flight tomorrow is very welcome to do so. Now, I have to do a bit of skipping again so that I can go back to brand. And I'm screaming in your ear, I'm guessing.
No.
No? Good. Here we go. The word is yours.
Can I have this
Do you want to walk around?
Yes. No, I don't want to walk around, but...
But you're
Oh.
too short for
Yes.
this one. I get it.
I didn't want to mention it, Margot, but thank you for that. So, well, welcome everybody. First of all, I want to thank all the projects who presented today, not because I want to get some credits because I'm nice or something like that. It's because I really, I'm happy that we have a kind of exchange like this one. I am really appreciating to have you all here and within the room and also outside, and it's not the time of my presentation, I know, but I try, you know. I had really a lot of very nice experiences which we could exchange, and so, you know, when I go home, I have my brain full of new ideas, and I will bring it back to my region, and that's also regional exchange which we should use in a way. But now I would like to present you my project, Brand, but it's not only my project, I'm just the representative here of the team who was working with me for 2 years, and without these people I couldn't present you the end results of Brand, because Brand ended now more or less. Brand had a very clear focus. Brand means Border Region Alumni Network Development. It was focused on alumni networks, networks which are part of universities and networks which keep in touch with graduates and alumni who were students of a certain alma mater and who then go out and make career in the world and the regions in which we live or not. Well, we had a lot of findings in Brand, but what we found is summarized here. That's the main important, is that personal relations to the region are of high importance. This is what we heard a lot of time today. And this is in particular true to alumni that have been studied or were born in the region. Means if you have a close relationship to your region, you don't want to leave. And if you leave, you maybe want to come back. And if you don't want to come back, you keep in touch with your region in a way. And that's an opportunity to bring back your knowledge and your experience, which you like collect on your way back to the people with whom you were at the university, for example. Alumni networks are foremost created for the benefits of the universities and the alumni. What does that mean? That means when we had a look at alumni networks and when we were interviewing the alumni networks managers, we asked them, did you had the idea of, binding or reattracting alumni to the region already now? And they said, no, we don't feel like instruments for that. We are not a retention or reattraction instruments. We're just like networks, we keep in touch with that guys, but that's all. So far, we can say alumni networks mainly are not at the agenda when talking about brain flow. That also means that, for example, for a region, and universities are one of the huge partners, regional partners and actors who are framing a region, they don't think about alumni networks when they think about, agendas, how to retain or reattract high-skilled people. Regional effects of alumni networks, if at all intentional, are just side effects at the moment. So there is no plan. I can say it for these regions which we analyzed in our project, of course not for the whole Europe or the whole world. Well, that brings me to policy recommendation, and this was really challenging to me, and it's not because I just wanted to pick out the best one. But I gave you this brochure not to have some credits, but because I'm interested in giving you results which we have after 2 years, and that's a lot. We had policy recommendations like for alumni network managers themselves. We had some for universities, how they can support alumni networks in their work. We had some at the level of regions and also at the inter-regional level, because we had a focus on border regions, and then at the national and even the EU level. So if you see, the first are for alumni networks, and of the, I don't know, we have maybe 20, I put 2. And I said, or we said as a team, to ensure students' insight to the regional economy, to maybe bring them near to what the region is about and what job possibility they have. Company landscape and regional culture should be shown to them before they leave the region, so that before they decide to leave, they should know what are the possibilities for me to develop a career or to develop my personality in my own region. We said to use the concept of warm place marketing to engage students already during their study time, and later to use alumni as ambassadors for example, student attracting or students acquisition means. What I already said, warm place marketing is like a concept, and you say that people who are born in your region or who studied in your region, they are easier to bind to the regional culture and the idea, and they are easier to address if you want to have them back in a way. So you should use them also if they leave, like for ambassadors, or they can, for example, say, well, I've studied at the University of Navarra, and it was beautiful when they are outside the region. Don't you want to get there, and don't you want to get the study there? So we should use that. For universities, we also have a broad range of recommendations, but I pick up one, and it was to embed the work of alumni networks stronger into the university itself, because mainly we found that the university is not really known what the alumni networks are about, and the alumni networks, yes, they are part of the university, but they make like their own thing. They are just a network. And we said, okay, to raise acceptance among the university staff for alumni network activities also. Policy recommendation for interregional level to foster cross-border university cooperations. We picked out this one because we said we are border regions, so we should concentrate on cross-border, and to encourage regional firms to take part in cross-border exchange programs, fostering the idea of expatriates or remigrants. For national and EU level, to create incentives for international students and high-skilled workers and to foster cross-border mobility. Means in a sense that, you know, sometimes people don't want to come to your region because they don't know how can they finance that or what are the possibilities. So the EU level should make more or should set up more programs for that. Well, that brings me to good practices, and we have several good practices from our regions. In this booklet you have, so it would be really good if you have a look in that, and if you want, you are welcome to implement them. Well, my team and me, I'm sorry, we concentrated on 3 things. And that's our good practices to use alumni network as retention and re-attraction instruments. So really a close or a narrow focus on the question of the project. And so we said, for example, that to prepare common retention and re-attraction activities, we found one alumni network who's closely cooperating with regional marketing agencies and regional companies. And that was really good because we were searching for activities like that. And they use the funds of the regional marketing agency and the regional companies, for example, for graduate books, which they have a concept like, you know, before people graduate, they make a graduate book, for example, and then they first sell it to the regional companies. And after a while, like 3 months, for example, they sell it to a broader audience. So the regional companies have the opportunity to see who are the graduates and what are their competencies. And if they want some of them to work for them, they can address them directly. That's really good practice for us. Then we said to simplify the communication flow and exchange on the topic alumni, we found an alumni network cooperating with a fundraising office of the university, the press office of the university, the career center of the university, and they share the same office accommodation, means they have short communication ways. That's really important because we had very close insights in the universities we were analyzing. And what we found out that, I don't know if you understand it, but in Germany we say the people don't know, the left hand is not knowing what the right hand is doing, you know, and the other way around. So we found out that the press office not even knows that there is an alumni network, but that's so important. If you are in university and you want to be successful for your region because you produce human capital firstly for your region, and this human capital is also kind of attraction factor outside the regional borders, you should work all together on one strategy and one concept. So that's clear, it's a good practice for us. And then we liked also the idea that, for example, there is an alumni network keeping in touch with its researcher alumni. That means when they go out of the region and they are like, I don't know, maybe in New York or wherever, or in Cambridge, this university or this alumni networks keeps in touch with them, and they give them opportunities to write, for example, common publications, common papers, as we say, research projects, and also they invite them as guest lecturers. That's just an example. So we said that's also a good practice. For the other good practices, you can find that all in that brand brochure which was done. That's just to give you an impression of the implementation which we will do with the project. We are working very close with the alumni networks, which we've analyzed, because that was important for us to have a kind of a trust level with them, and now they try to implement the ideas which we have, created. And what we said, of course, it's important not that you bring the universities themselves into charge, because there was the question about the actors, which actors can be involved in the process, and we said the universities must open up a knowledge which is created at a university and stays in the university is not worth, because if people can't use it, it's not worth. And if just only professors use it, it's not worth. Okay, and challenges? Yeah, we say to overcome a too narrow regional focus, that's all in all, not for the alumni networks. To ensure knowledge spillover and exchange beyond high-skilled migration. So as I said, you should create pipelines like networks and try to absorb knowledge from everywhere. Each region, like this conference, it's an exchange of knowledge. It's a pipeline. Use it. To foster regional complementarity by, for example, chambers of commerce. So we said this may be in the discussion, maybe, or focused a lot about the discussion of smart specialization, which is for us, and I speak now for my institution, another concept like clusters, which should be critically faced. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
much. Here we are. Okay, then we come to our jury again to have a look what your opinion is, what your questions are, and I give the floor to Monica again.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I wonder if you know if they had came back some students during the alumnia. Have you studied that?
The microphone is just getting new batteries. It needs an energy update. Either you scream or you wait.
It's a bad thing for the translation, so.
Okay, so again, we know that, of course, there are alumni who come back to the region. We also know from the alumni networks that these people need a contact in the region, a first contact. The point is that, of course, alumni networks are not always the first contact, because when you have a look into the migration literature, I don't want to get too broad, people who migrate, regional or international, they use migration networks. So for example, if I want to come to Navarra, I would, for example, ask Marianne, I know you, can you tell me where can I go to Navarra if I want to come here? But if I don't have a personal contact, and for example, I've been working or studying at the university here, I would then ask my alumni network. And this is what we also found in our analysis, that the people ask sometimes, the alumni network, can you tell me other jobs in the region? I would like to return. But what we also found out is that the alumni networks are, how can I, überfordert?
They're overstretched?
Yes, overstressed with the situation, because they are not really good linked to the region, and they are not even very good linked to their own university. So these are the first steps which must be done. And for a region like North Rhine-Westphalia, which is a huge region, it's maybe alumni network as instruments for retention and reattraction are not that important, but maybe for smaller regions where you have a small university, that's important because that's a good contact point for the people to come back, you know, to have a first anchoring point.
Yes. First of all, thanks to the last presenters, and also thank you to all the other presenters earlier today. It's going to be a tough job for us after to agree on one winner. And I also would like to say now, as we've finished with the last group, that this has been very interesting for me to get to know all the sub-projects better. And I think earlier today I've been asking questions about implementation and how you take this further. Of course, this conference is also an important part of the implementation, and I think it's both for me and Monica as politicians interesting to be here. I've already been spending the day thinking about these perspectives, these ideas. How can I implement these into our organization later? And we are just now in Hedmark County, our region, starting up a new process of making a plan for a new regional plan for education and trade and industry. And of course, these ideas, these perspectives, very interesting to include in that process. So thank you all for that, both the presenters and also the audience who have been asking questions. And then again, as earlier, I am interested in hearing a bit more about how can we take these ideas, these perspectives, and implement them, convert them to specific policies. Thank you.
As I have Oliver closest to me, I will choose you to start.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm not a politician, so I would try to answer it not from a politician's point of view. I think we are stuck in an environment in which, we are in a financial crisis. And that simply means the things we suggest means that we need some money for that. And for companies, like I said, creating this innovation hub, for companies is actually an extra cost. That's how they look at it at the moment. And so they are normally looking forward to somebody who can come up with some assistance to make it work. And so that's actually what I could say, getting towards the politicians. And I take back one of the words mentioned yesterday, not yesterday even, it's there. It says here, fostering talent as the key to get over the economic crisis. And one of the speakers said, it's not about now, what happens when the crisis is over? Do we have the talent then? I think that's what we have to be looking at.
Well, when it comes to the clear implementation is what I said. We are in really close contact to the alumni network managers we worked with, and maybe you know that the meeting in Hedmark we had a very huge meeting of the alumni network managers of the project. They met in Hedmark all together, and they had an exchange of experience. They presented their ideas and so on. Well, I would like to, because I like discussions, I would like just to say something to what you said. It's really good, the question you ask about the crisis, what is then? And I think that the crisis is, of course, you know, it's like, oh yes, it's an opportunity, blah, blah, you know. But I think that anyway, it's really important to have a very strong knowledge base. So human capital is like, we discuss it as if it would be something new. It's not new. I mean, human capital is there in each region for years. It's always there. Why is it important? I said it today because everybody found out that technology is not the only thing we can concentrate on. And we found out, and the crisis maybe showed all of us, also in this room, that social things and people are the most important thing we should handle with. And so if you have a very strong and health knowledge base in your region, and it's not only about 5% of talented, high educated, whatever people, but if you have a strong knowledge base, if you care for your human capital, you are then prepared for each crisis and also for the times where everything is going okay. So you are like, you know, you can take each process, it's like life, it's up and downs, and you are prepared for that, so.
Thank you very much for keeping our minds expanding with these really interesting ideas and suggestions. I also make it extensive to the former rounds. Certainly, at least from my particular point of view, all of them has overpassed my expectations. So thank you very much for that. And I do also observe that comparing with the probably more formal session of yesterday, certainly talent is quite evenly distributed. There is a lot of talent in today's contributions, so thank you very much for that. I had in that case only one question, that it's something that really really bothers me in the sense that I work in a university, right? So somehow I see really huge gap between what we are doing there and probably the applied real world. And sometimes I think, and I would ask for your opinion about that probably there is no need to fulfill all the formation process in a single period that takes probably from 5 or 7 years to maybe 20-something. And maybe we could cut that in some pieces, and also allowing people to learn in a situated settings. That means in professional settings. Sometimes I have observed that some of my students who are actually working comes to university with a very, very different perspective and with more clear questions to ask and more clear ideas to solve. I just wonder that if you can tell me what's your opinion about this kind of situation, I'll be glad.
Who wants to take it?
Okay, I'll do my best. I think I'll get back. I think what you're talking about is indeed, it could be students who are following a study and then studies theory, and they can go back to work. And then the gentleman yesterday said there is a big gap between what they need and what we offer. And there's another group of students, if I get your question correctly, who maybe are working and they also go back to school. So they kind of dual studies, or they do in evening studies, and these people come with a lot of questions. Yeah. So the question is, how can we make this more efficient, maybe? Yeah. Okay. It's kind of hard to say this is it, but on the other side, what I've learned with this crisis we have now, and before the crisis, is the fact that as of now, there are not a lot of jobs, so people tend to go to study into full-time. After the crisis, we get actually the opposite, where people say, I can start working and still be able to earn money, and I can also go to school. I can do two things at the same time. So the question is, are the learning institutions prepared to take up that change which is coming in a few years' time? I think that's what we have to be looking at. So from the university's point of view, what are we going to do to make sure that in 3 or 4 years' time we can offer these kind of possibilities and still be able to be self-reliant in terms of financing, and then we can still teach them, let them work, come back again, and still be available. And when things change, we still be able to cope up with the change. So what you said, if you have the right human capital, you can absorb it. So I think now we have to start be thinking about how are we going to set up our curriculum so that it fits also into the working community, because they are much more advanced in terms of thinking and knowledge than the students coming directly from the secondary school. So that's what, from the education point of view, we could do.
We need to get the translation services going. Here we go.
Right. I agree with my previous colleagues that we're going to need an awful lot of talent to try to choose one of these marvelous projects that you've presented today. First of all, I would like to thank those who are committing to a group of teachers, professionals who are highly skilled and highly trained. The last two projects placed emphasis on that fact. But we have some data that are very worrying, very concerning. And we know that among people who have talent and are highly skilled in our country, there's a lot of school dropout. Those students who potentially could have gone to university and we could have the society could have taken advantage of them. However, there is something that is going wrong, and there's a lot of dropout. There are examples of geniuses who have been dropouts, school dropouts. And that is a great concern. So I would like to know if you think there is a possibility of recovering those people for society. Of course, it's be nice if they could stay in their own environment, but can they be optimized by society? So my question is, what happens with all those people with talent who drop out from school and this talent isn't immaterialized?
I think the translation just finished. Everything clear with the question? Okay, who wants to take it?
Well, I must disappoint you. I don't have a clue, but I know what you mean. I'm thinking about it. Well, at the moment I have a project which is about, it's similar. It's about dropouts, but with a migration background, you know. And in Germany, let's say, I guess it's about 75% dropouts are migrants. And that's a huge problem. Why I said it's because it seems that I can speak just for not for the whole Germany, but for my region, or it seems to me, but I'm not sure, is that what I tried to say is that maybe we expect too much from the single person. I tried to say it yesterday after the guy was presenting to us how important it is to have self-estimation and things like that. And yes, it is important to feel good and big and great and have a big ego, maybe. But if there is a whole society giving you the feeling you are not worth, then you drop out. Or, you know, take just the situation which is now already, I've seen yesterday, the young guys who were on the streets, you know. They are maybe educated, and maybe they are not. But maybe they are not educated, but they are talented. But nobody cares, you know. We give a lot of money for banks and for further things. I don't want to open up a very huge discussion, but we don't care about that people. So if somebody is not caring about them, so why should they be part of the society? And maybe dropping out is just a sign of I'm not interested in what you are doing, you know. So everything is about efforts, about how you have to be, and so on. I don't know if this is the clue, but I think maybe it's one of the reasons, like thousands of further motivations they have or they do not. But so maybe that's just a part of a human capital agenda, not only to have a look at who can I attract from New York, but also to have a look, what about the guys on the streets, you know? So what can we do with them? And maybe they are even better than we all together here. Maybe they are genius, as you said. But if nobody cares, then we never know. So that's not a clue, and I know it's not enough, but that's maybe a point we should think about the society and the development which is taking place at the moment. And maybe then the crisis is a thing that is a bad thing at the moment, but which is, it hurts, the crisis itself, not because of the financial stuff, but it hurts also because it shows where the work was not done for, let's say, like 30 years. And in Germany, for example, migration work was not done for 30 years.
Well, actually, I'm not an experienced either, but and I have no idea about the statistics in the Netherlands. But to concern it to our project, our Step Forward project, it might be an idea that companies are involved with the students as long as they're not a dropout yet, but before to maybe to how do you say that, to connect them together, the students and the companies, so the students have more and better idea what their future can be, and so they might be a little bit more motivated to stay at school or at the university.
Thank you very much.
Just one point, if you don't mind. No, because, yeah, okay. Now, I'm just curious about the reasons for somebody to drop out. And if I listen to the presentation of BPCM, is that BP or BC? BPCM, he's talking about clustering. So I was curious, if we know the reasons for dropping out, and we try to cluster these reasons, we could then find solutions for specific cluster, not for a specific person. Yeah, so that could be an option.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm just pushing as Margot would like to keep the time. But we do have
I'm the bad guy.
A question from the audience, and I would like to allow that question.
You may.
Hola.
Hello. I come from the education area. There is, I see you've got very, very good intentions, but I haven't seen any statistics, any results. And when I don't see that, well, I have to have an act of faith with you. Don't belong to the jury, of course, but I can't believe everything you do unless I can see some figures. I work like you do in trying to move all of this, get things going, education, so that it could be useful for employment, find the talent. But at this meeting, I haven't seen any talent. For example, gypsies. Gypsies, for example, they've got talent. Or poor people. Here, when I heard about the University of Navarra, there are more universities. And only in Navarre, and I hope those from education will hear me, I've only heard about 3 main centers, and there are a lot more than that. There is more talent. I am working just like you do on projects. But I don't just work in baskets, I'm working in technologies. The technology isn't everything, of course it's not. But the technology enables me to see what can be achieved. What I am trying to do is to work on images rather than texts. Show people how to carry out the projects. I work with cooks, with chefs. I try to work with people who can teach me, who can show me the talent that they've got. Show me that they can cook, for example. I work with a lot of other people as well. But if that talent is just on the network, why can't they get in? Why do the entrepreneurs ask me for, when I go and talk to them, They ask me about certain values, competences. They're like the reports of the OCDE, like the reports of Europe years and years ago. Why don't they talk to me sincerely about what they want? They want people with a certain number of skills to manage things. So are we really looking for talent, or is it something that is good to talk about? And here that I have a big question mark. And I'm saying all of this based on experience. I would like to see some statistics. And I'm looking for an image. An image enables us to see the reality of what is occurring. There's a lot of hypocrisy around, and I'm really thankful that you are fighting for all of this. But once you've shown me the results, I will believe you. But I'm a bit, I'm not really a believer until I've shown.
Here, I will see. Oliver, do you want to take that comment, or? I think it's a question for you. A question for me in general terms. Yeah. More, well, let's see.
Well, I don't really know if I got your idea precisely. If you want to have statistics, I mean, first of all, just speaking for Brand, you have them here. It's just like 2 small studies. But there are, of course, thousands of small or huge statistics. It's not possible to make statistics with the project. I'm not sure if I got your point. Maybe what you ask or what you say is that we concentrate too much on higher education. Is this what you say? And that there are further talents. Yes, I'm with you. Of course, we concentrate too much on that. Of course, because it's fashionable, it's fashion. You know, in 2 years, we concentrate on something else. But that's research, that's life, you know, I know what you mean. So, well, you are not a believer. Yeah, I'm with you. So what can I tell you? Well, the point is that I think it's the message, or the key message with which is important for me, is that of course technology is important. Yes, sure. But a lot of time we forget, you know, to develop the people who are now important for whatever, for using the technology, for lasting the crisis, people for many things. And I'm totally with you. Not everybody can study and should study. If you ask me, I wouldn't never ever. I mean, it was boring, and now I found out I have several of talents, but it's, you know, it's not research maybe, or I don't know. But I'm with you, but I don't know, I don't have an idea how to get data on that. You know, I don't know what was exactly the question, or how to bring that forward. Maybe it's for my goal.
Okay, probably it's for further discussion, but probably not today, as we're really running short of time, and I know that people need to catch their flights. If you're brief.
Very brief. I just wanted to say one thing to the previous comment of that gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
What I think we need to help people is, first, to believe very deeply that we can help people, and second, not to act as a victims, because as a victims, because talent doesn't buy victims, by responsibility. They believe that you can grow in that particular region, in that particular environment. So,
thank you for picking up.
That wasn't the question. That was a little comment. My question might seem to be a little bit of the road, but in fact it's not, because I'm from Navarra and I'm very much concerned for the loss of talent we are living nowadays, with people going away. Do you have any particular recommendation of what should we doing today in order to bring them back in few years after they spend 3-4 years abroad? What should we do in order to bring them back?
That is a very broad question, which I think, well, we are talking about the reattraction, and in that particular case, we are saying people are leaving because of an economically difficult situation, and we are hoping for them to come back. And I think what we are trying to do is to address exactly that question from different perspectives. We can use alumni networks to keep them in touch with their university where they studied, in the hope that after 3-4 years they will come back. We can use the sub-project Step Forward to connect better with entrepreneurs and policymakers so that they know the potential they have when they come back to the region. We can analyze what quality of life means to them so that in the time that they're gone, we enhance it so that they want to come back. I think what we addressed here addresses your question from different perspectives. In the end, it's them taking the decision, of course. We can try to give incentives. We can try to make information available. But the actual decision is going to be taken by the person. Maybe they fall in love abroad and they stay. There are so many things that can happen that you cannot influence by policies, but you can give a frame in which you allow them to come back. That's, I think, the broadest I can round up towards your question.
And it is a perfect introduction, actually, for the next step within our conference here. So we are saying thank you very much for the third round speakers.
Thank you very much.